Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Live from iRacing's virtual Nurburgring, welcome sim racing fans to the 3rd round of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Happy that all of you could join us on this beautiful Friday afternoon or evening, wherever you're tuning in around the world. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Andy Thompson with Samuli Kumo down in the virtual production trailer. And Andy, we can already see it. Drivers getting out of the pit lane, ready for qualifying. And this round is going to bring a lot of uniqueness. The points are starting to heat up after 2 rounds, and a lot of drivers need to put some good points on the board to try and get themselves some better positions going into the latter half of the season.
Yeah, so obviously this is the 3rd round with the brand new Porsche 922, so the drivers are getting a lot used to the car, as we saw in the last outing in the Hungaroring. Very hot action, and the guys obviously just need to be aware of the way the car performs, and they're getting a lot better as the season progresses. And obviously here at the sprint track in the Nurburgring is certainly going to be an interesting one. We've got some interesting corners on this track, mainly sort of turn 1, 2 and 3, the inboard section, the Mercedes Arena, which is always an interesting part on this track. This is the shorter layout from the GP track, so we don't get really much of the bottom end of the track, but we do get all the interesting parts from the GP. So we have still got the Verdal chicane and the extremely long straight from turn 7 all the way down to the chicane. So, you know, I should expect to see some late movements coming into the chicane on turn number 9.
And this course does cut out the rather famous Dunlop curve that is at the bottom of the track in the Michael Schumacher S, but we sort of just cut all that off. Turn 5 is sort of just splitting all of that off, and it goes up into turns 10 and 11. Here are the point standings when it comes to the pro category. Bo Albert at the front of the field for Logitech G Altus Esports. Great start to the season for him. Win in his heat race and the feature when it comes to Charlotte, and a good outing at Hungary last week sits him at the top of the board. And you can take a look, Roger Christensen sitting there in P2, Joe Gatterstad, two pro level drivers trying to qualify through the Porsche Esports Super Cup Contender Series that is going on right now on Saturday afternoons. The two Fox Gaming drivers looking to get in. Chris Shorter, Thomas Wangen rounding out the top 5 of the points. Everybody is chasing Bo Albert though, Andy, and he has a great gap over the rest of the field right now of just a little bit under 20 points as we get a good look at the AM class here. Daniel Porter running away with that one by just about 50 points over anybody else.
Yeah, definitely. And as we saw there in the overall standings, Daniel Porter is mixing it very much at the moment with the pros. Managed to get into both feature races at Charlotte and at Hungaroring last outing. So he's seems Mr. Consistent from the amateur side to try and get into that feature race. And that's a vital part of all the amateur drivers, is to get into that feature race, because that's where the points, the big points gains that we got, as we saw there on the overlay, we can sort of see as we have a quick drive round of this track of the Nurburgring. So we're coming down to turn 1 here, tight right-hander coming up to a left-hander that's a little bit off. It can catch drivers out if you take this a little bit too fast. Coming down here into turn number 3, another tricky corner on the track. Got to hug the bend on the inside, get a wide exit here into turn number 4 to get a good exit speed, a good chance for getting off tracks here. And this is where the difference is from the sprint track to the garbage. So the GP track will carry on around to the left there, but this track goes the sharp right, and we end up coming back round onto the turn, coming down to turn 6. Turn 6, a slight lift, hug that left inside corner, get a good exit over to the left hand side of the track, open up this corner as much as you can. So you need to get on the power as early as you can, the longest straight on the course, so get a really good exit. This bend is flat out, coming down into turn number 9, a really heavy braking area and a really tight chicane as we come in, so really hard on the brakes. Take the inside, clip the corners on the inside, on both inside and exit, trying to get that spin out. The car will get unsettled a little bit before we get to the last corner. Out wide, swing in to try and get that apex, to get that really good run out of the last turn onto the start-finish straight. And that's sort of a lap, Josh, of the Nürburgring sprint track.
An interesting and very difficult track as well. Seems like every time that we see the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, whether it's the full one or the sprint one that we have here today, always provides for some exciting racing. Luke McCowan up to P2, but everybody is once again chasing Bo Albert with the fastest time right now, 1:26.813, and he'll settle it down. And remember, this is a 10-minute open qualifying, unlimited amount of laps these drivers can take. We're about halfway through that time now, as we have 5 minutes remaining here in open qualifying. Getting a good look at Thiago Martau, who currently sits P3, one of the top drivers when it comes to the AM class right now, and beating a handful of the pro drivers as well. We're seeing a relatively even split right now. Usually, Andy, we see the pro drivers up top, AM drivers at the bottom. It's pretty spread out here, and I think that goes to show just how difficult this Nürburgring circuit is. Can be very difficult to tame, so we're going to see drivers from the pro and AM really showing their talent here today.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think the off-track, certainly in this qualifying period, will be catching quite a few of the drivers out. I mean, the biggest one that normally catches the drivers out is turn number 4 after they come out of the inboard Mercedes arena. That's the one that normally catches the drivers out. So the drivers are holding back a little bit to just make sure they get that banker lap in as such. Still got 4 minutes left of this, so another 2 laps at least that the drivers can do. So I would expect to see some more of the pros going up. But Luke McCowan obviously taking over from where he left off at the Hungaroring, winning the feature race in his heat race there, so taking maximum points from Hungaroring after a pretty disastrous Charlotte where he didn't actually feature in the feature race at all. So obviously the drivers do get one drop round for this championship, so I'm pretty sure that he'll be taking that one, but that just means he's more of on a knife edge now, as he can't afford to drop any more lines, as we sort of watch on board with Hignett now at 7th place at the moment in the AMs. So yeah, the AMs are certainly mixing up on this track with the pros.
We'll see if that's going to continue through the rest of the day. Obviously, we still have 2 heat races on the horizon, a Consolation race, or the B main, I should say, and then the feature race where everybody will go racing. In those heat races, only going to take a premium amount of drivers. We'll take 8 from each of the heat races, 12 minutes in each of those heats. Then we'll go racing in the Consolation, where we will take an currently undetermined amount of drivers, but we will take some from that Consolation, put them into the feature race, and we'll go racing on from there as qualifying continues. About to wrap up here, and now less than 3 minutes, about 2.5 minutes now, and pretty interestingly, Thiago Martel catching up a little bit to Bo Albert within just a couple of 100ths of a second to that current leader in qualifying. We get a look at Craig Jones, SCCR Sim Sports, in that 288, currently 5th in the AM category when it comes to the times on qualifying right now. Let's see if he can improve on that 128.45, as Daniel Potter is going to improve 127.49 on the board for the 248.
Yeah, so times are getting slightly faster now. The guys have got their bank of laps in, so trying to push it as much as they can. Martin, who's obviously really close to Bo Albert, but at the moment he still holds the qualifying place. So the way the heats work, if you're new to this series, is it's evens and odds for heats 1 and heats 2. So as we saw last week in the Nurburgring, if you were lucky enough to view that, be with us live, or obviously viewed it back, it was very much stacked in the first heat. We had all the top drivers in the first heat, which gave opportunity to the normally outsider ranked cars for heat 2 to make it through straight away to the feature race. So it'd be interesting to see at the moment what they do. I mean, looking at the timing tower, it'll be Albert, McEwen, Mokes, which are all very fast drivers into the first heat, with Hignett will be joining on the first of the amateurs. So it looks like it's going to be another fast heat 1 here, but that's sort of how the heats work out and how they get split into the 2 heats.
And we'll see who's going to get put into what heat here in about 50 seconds as qualifying wraps its way up. Scott Mokes for Team Mokes in that 110. Talking pre-race about that paint scheme. Very, very colorful, and bringing out just some flair when it comes to the paint schemes. I love it there from the 110 of Scott Mokes. Let's see if he can improve on his 5th overall time right now. Goes wide, apexes that corner. Off he goes, and down the front straightaway for Mokes. Let's see if he can improve. 20 seconds left in qualifying. Crosses the line. Will not be an improvement. Mokes will stay in P5. Gilvigard Gotterstad, you're getting a great look at him up to P7. And Lewis Ward, what a time for the Team 11 driver, up into P6, a 127.333. That will put the checkered flag out of qualifying. And it is time to take a look at the starting grid for heat number 1. It looks like this will be the only heat that we are going to see tonight. Heat 2 has been skipped, so the top 8 from here will automatically move their way into the feature race, but everybody will go racing here in this heat based on participation. Bo Albert will start on the pole. Thiago Martel, top of the AM class, outside of the front row. A great effort from the 222. Luke McCowan, Roger Christensen, Scott Mokes, rounding out your top 5. Lewis Ward, David Harris, Joe Vigard, Gotterstad, Yannick Heinet, with Daniel Porter, rounding out your top 10. Emil Vimbo, another one of those drivers trying to qualify in the Porsche Esports Super Cup Contender Series. James Parker to his outside, P12. Back from there, Max Kessler and Mikey Pollard share that 7th row. Darren Fell, Marcel Fritsch on row 8. Henning Stullinger with Craig Jones on row 9. Craig Salter and Arajas Jomontes rounding out your top 20. Oliver Holtzke in P21. Kevin Stringer to his outside. Cesar Cabral, Austin Neal rounding out the top 12 rows. Rounding out the field here in the heat will be Ross Dunstan, Thomas Wangen, Nikola Forza Lippi, Nikolay Polyakov, and Dennis Meisner at the tail end of the field. So, Andy, all drivers here in this heat gonna really change the way these drivers are going to race in this heat, because the transfer spot gonna mean just a little bit less now. It really only means who's going to go automatically to feature and who's gonna have their starting spot determined by the Consolation.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, only one heat due to the amount of drivers here we have tonight. So we only have 29 drivers in the championship. So obviously, missing a heat, maybe more from the Consolation that actually go through. But it'd be interesting to see a different mindset. No second heat, so straight away we'll be going into the Consolation B final, and it'd be very interesting to see what happens as we watch them all grid up. So at the moment, I think we have 5 drivers that do have pit lane starts, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see this one.
And they are off and away. 12 minutes on the clock. Let's go racing. Diving into turn number 1. Roger Christensen already trying to make quick work of Luke McGowan as everybody will dive into the corner. Are we going to see any argy-bargy down in turn number 1? 3 wide for a moment. A little bit of lockup, but nobody getting spun around. And as I say that, one car going to go around. That is Cesar Cabral. That got turned in the 170. He falls to P27, but Bo Albert, front of the field, continues to pull away. It's a scrap heap further back, still 2 by 2 for the majority of the fields. They all race out of turn number 4. Now down the straightaway, they'll go into the hard right-hander at turn 5, cut off the back half of sector 2, and go right into turn 6 and 7 now. 10 and 11 on the usual Grand Prix circuit. They'll go through the fast left and right-hand chicane. You're on board with Daniel Porter trying to get by Mikey Pollard as they'll dive to the inside. Door bang, going around is the 173.
Oh, that was a bit of a little lunge there, obviously pushing out the 123 car to the outside of the track, and obviously putting him well down the field at the moment. So Daniel Porter currently up to P12, and as we said, the top 8 from this round will go straight through to the feature. So currently, all apart from Martin here, who looks like he's had an issue here. It's that a spin? He's had... Yeah,
Emil Vinbo getting turned around here. That is the Kairos Competition 123. Emil Vinbo turned around off of turn number 10, going into 11. What has happened with Roger Christensen? Oh, a slowdown, cutting the course. It will give them a slowdown from iRacing. They got to give that time back. What a mistake for the Fox Gaming 171. I mentioned, Andy, Christensen, one of those drivers trying to qualify for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. A simple mistake just moved him down into P8 now on the racetrack.
Yeah, definitely had a really excellent start, managed to make up 2 positions, and unfortunately lost that all trying to overcut that chicane. So everybody will try to do what they can with that chicane to cut it as much as they can, but it's a fine line between getting a really good line through that chicane and obviously overcutting it to get that slowdown. But it'd be certainly interesting to see what happened to Martin, because I think he may have been caught up with Wimbo, and hence why we saw Wimbo and Martin actually go down, because Martin was quite high up in the places around P4, and all of a sudden he's down into P10. Still got an opportunity to make up into that top 8, but has got Hignett and Yannick Hignett in front of him, the top of the AMs at the moment, with a very fast lineup of pros in front of him, with Christian and Kelsa currently holding the 7th and 8th positions. But all the drivers at the moment are still within touch. The top drivers are still within touch of that 8th place automatic feature qualification. And as we can see there on the stream, the cars are literally just in a line and in a procession coming down, so it's anyone's guess who is going to take these top 8 places.
We'll see what is going to happen with the remainder of this race as Scott Mokes tries to hold off Damian Harris there for P3 and does exactly that. Harris will stay in 4th place for the moment. Bo Albert, Luke McGowan, Scott Mokes, Damian Harris, Joe Vigard, Gotterstad. Your current top 5, Ward, Kessler, Christensen, Martau, and Heinet. Your top 10 on the racetrack currently. 2 AMs make up that top 10. The rest is pro drivers through the top 8. We get a good look at Martau here, trying to hold off his AM category mate of Yannick Heinet. Battle further back, one car going wide. I believe that was Just Joe Montes that got up and out of the groove there. Or no, it was actually Darren Fell that got up and out of the groove for BTTW Racing. He'll stay in P12 for now. Battle as Vimbo tries to catch up with the rest of the pack. Closing that door was Ross Dunstan closing the gap. Craig Jones sitting at the tail end of this 3 Porsche line. And as they run up the hill, slight curve over, here comes Vimbo down to the bottom. Through the left-hander here, through the braking zone. Great move from Vimbo, and Jones tried to make it work, but couldn't. And a spin for Joe Montes, putting him down the order now.
Yeah, definitely a great pass there from Vimbo, exactly how to do it on that corner, but has got a long battle in front of him currently in P20, if quite a way off the automatic qualifying place off P8, so just trying to probably get a bit more practice on the course, getting himself ready for the Consolation B finals. We watch Mikey Pollard here trying to take it down the inside of turn number 1 and managing to get the move done on Hulky in P15 now is Pollard. And this is mainly probably where a lot of the battles and the points will come from the AM Championship. So although they've got the top 8 places to continue to get through to the feature race, is that the positions of this race for the AMs will be the vital points and go towards the championship. So the AMs for this is very much their race that they need to try and get up as far as they possibly can do at the moment. As I see on the Austin Neal has crashed on our time towers. We watch Nikolai Poloskov crashing coming down into turn number 5 there, and so a few crashes happened. So Nicholas Forsey-Lippi, Austin Neal, and obviously we just watched Polotsky on crash. So a few more incidents happening in this race at the moment here, Joshua.
Couple of drivers in the pit lane. You just mentioned Austin Neal. You can add James Parker to that list as well that were in the pit lane. Now a couple of laps down, and another incident with Vimbo, and it looks like this time it's contact with, I believe, Kevin Stringer, who he made contact with there. Let's see what happened here. Emil Vimbo in that purple and white Kairos competition machine, and the 252 in front of him, that is Kevin Stringer. Oh, misjudged the braking zone, just a little bit of contact going into that final chicane. That's turn 9 and 10 right there, and Vimbo just missing that braking zone, even if it's by inches, making contact with the 225 in front, and that sent Vimbo and Stringer for a little bit of a ride going down into turn number 9. Bit of a draft train forming at the front of this field now as Scott Mokes currently leads them from P3. Damian Harris, Joe Vigard, Gotterstad in this line. Tail end of it, it is Lewis Ward for Team 11. You can see back from there, Kessler, Christensen, and Martau also in a bit of a draft train, but everybody chasing down Bo Albert. 5 minutes to go here in the first heat and the only heat of the night, should say first race of the night. We still have a consolation and a feature that will be coming up, and once we know it, we'll let you know how many drivers will transfer in from the consolation and how much that race will mean, and then we'll go into the final of tonight's races, 15 minutes where everything will be laid down on the table. And I think something we need to mention also, Andy, with this limited heat race, also limited points, because they can get points for the heat races, and with there only being one heat race with much more cars, not only is it more points on the board, but could potentially be also more points for the drivers who don't have points on the board to get those points out of this heat race, because there are more drivers, more cars that they can pass.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, it is the AM race, this one, and trying to get up and just trying to get that extra position when we know the difference. As we saw in the AM Championship, the first place runner at the moment who's managed to get into the feature race for two-way, and the second place sort of running away for it because they've been in the feature race, which is where the bigger points are for this championship, and then the lower down positions, you know, they're all quite tight because obviously they haven't progressed on from the heats or the Consolation B final. So, you know, for an AM to get into that feature race, it's almost like the golden pot day of having loads of points to be able to either claw back the championship or extend your championship at the top. So that's the real main aim for any one of the AM drivers at the moment. And just obviously comment on that Wimbo incident we saw a little bit early on. That's what some of the pros have got to be aware of. You know, they're used to braking really late and trying to push these cars to the absolute limit when they're going into corners. And the AM drivers are still very much learning on the iRacing circuit, and will often brake a little bit earlier to make the corner safe. So, you know, that's something else that the pros need to be aware of as we watch Hugh Martineau managing to get that 8th place off Christensen at the moment. So Roger Christensen, who's an extremely fast driver, has been overtaken at the moment for that 8th automatic qualifying spot by Martineau in Team Shamu. So great drive here for Martineau, as we saw in the qualifying. Obviously finished in the top 2, and we know he's a very fast driver. So at the moment, Christensen will be going to the Consolation.
2:22 for Team Xiaozu. A great run for Martao currently here in the heat race. Time running out. Now the lap times are roughly about minute 27, minute 28. We'll go minute 27 to be a little bit more on the conservative side. But it looks like this time by we will not be close enough. As take a look at the battle between Kessler and Martao. Kessler blocking that 222, making sure that door is shut. And who wants to get by both of these drivers? Roger Christensen, who with a slowdown earlier in this race is now trying to catch his way back up. Bo Albert comes across the line. 2 laps to go here in the heat. Let's see what Martao can do on Kessler, pro versus AM. Kessler gonna make the full defense down into turn number 1, blocking that inside line. Can Martao go for a switchback? He's gonna cut in, not gonna be close enough. Kessler with a perfect corner, perfect apex, will stay in front of Martao for the moment. P7 on the racetrack for Impulse Racing's number 176 as they go back through sector 1.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Martineau has got a bit of a pace over Kessler, but Kessler at the moment doing an excellent job to defend him. But what that is doing is that Roger Christensen trying to get onto the back of these 3, and Martineau's obviously got to be wary because he's in that bubble spot at the moment in P8, and what he doesn't want to do is obviously make a move and get offline and give Roger Christensen the opportunity to pass him for that P8 spot. So, you know, he's caught in no man's land at the moment. He's trying to get past Kessler, and Kessler seems to be holding up slightly, but he's got to be aware of Roger Christensen behind him as we currently watch the battle here for 3rd place. So we have Mokes, Harris, Goddestad and Ward still all in a long train. Not really, they haven't changed positions from where we saw him a couple of laps ago, but all of the cars we just see here. Lewis Ward going a little bit, no, that was a back marker actually, so a back marker nicely getting out of the way for the drivers. So still the same, Mokes, Goddestad, Ward and Harris, but Luke's trying to line up Ward here for turn number 1, but Ward obviously covers off that inside track.
And back into the corner, Ward trying to get by, just not able to get there through corner 1. White flag is out here in the heat. 1 more lap around the Nurburgring sprint circuit, and we'll put the top 8 from this, and we will move them into the feature race. Everybody else will race into the Consolation, as there is Kessler still fighting with Christensen and Martao behind. You're on board with Christensen now. Side by side, a little bit of a lockup from Max Kessler. Kessler gonna shut the door again on Martao. Side by side now as the 222 tries to look to the outside. Another door slam from Kessler. They are continuing to fight as they go through turn 7. They'll go into the uphill long straightaway, the arch of turn 8 into turns 9 and 10. This is the battle we are watching on the racetrack. But as he comes across the start-finish line, Bo Albert will be winning the heat to the outside. A little bit of a touch of the grass for Martao, but Kessler's able to hold on through the final corner, turn 11. It is Bo Albert who will come across the line. He wins heat number 1. McKowen, Mokes, Goddestad, Ward, Christensen now side by side with Martao. It's a drag race for P8, and Martao's gonna keep it by inches.
Wow, I knew that was going to sort of come down to a line finish here between Martineau and Christensen. Luckily, Martineau manages to keep his place because obviously Kessler was being super defensive there on them last sort of 3-4 laps, really holding up Martineau in 8th place. but Christensen was trying everything he could there, and literally over the line, photo finish between the two of them, and Martinu taking that automatic 8th place qualifying into the feature race. So as usual, we're looking at 1 AM in this heat race going through to the feature race.
And we will wait and see exactly what is going to happen with the Consolation race, because usually we would have 2 heats and then everybody else go into that one, and then drivers from the Consolation will basically just cut them off and have the same thing we had with the heats, where drivers would qualify into certain transfer spots. A little bit different with only 1 heat, so we are waiting for the session to reset and us to get information on our iRacing screens to just give us an exact outlook of what we're going to see in the Consolation. But either way, an exciting first heat, and ready for the Consolation race now. And 14 drivers will advance into the feature, so we are going to cut 7 drivers out of this Consolation race. Here is the starting grid, or sorry, the results from heat number 1. Albert, McCowan, Moak, Scotterstad, Ward, Harris, Kessler, Martau automatically advance. They are not racing out of the Consolation. Top 14 will advance their way out of this Consolation race. Everybody else down from there, ready to line up in the Consolation exactly how they finished. Roger Christensen will be starting on the pole here. Rather surprising to see the Fox Gaming driver in a Consolation race. Let's see what he can do in that number 171 here today from the Nurburgring, looking for a better Consolation race than he had heat race. Christensen, Hynap, Porter, Fell, Meisner, the top 5. We're letting them loose for the Consolation race. Top 14 will advance their way out of this Consolation race. Down into 1, already getting 3 wide. Leading the way is Christensen. A little bit of door slamming in the mid-pack, but everybody's going to keep it clean. Still 3 wide. 1 car going to go around. Craig Jones gets spun in the 288. 1 more car around the 277 of Ross Dunstan. More contact as more involved. Up and over, he goes flipping. Emil Vinbo involved. I believe Wankin got involved. Polyakov involved. It's tragedy in the first couple of corners, as still going around is Vinbo.
Yeah, this is going to play to a lot of the amateur drivers. This is a really good opportunity for them to get into this feature race and get some valuable points. But we're sort of seeing cars spread out all over the corner. Nicola Lippi pulls out, and oh, nearly a big crash in the background there. I'm not sure what's happening here. All the cars seem to be very much sliding off. Obviously, I know we've seen previously on the Consolation rounds, very heated. It's a bit hard to see what's going on in this replay. There's so many cars going off on this first thing, but what it does with that 7, ooh, so obviously a missed line there coming out of turn 4, spinning it, and Arias Yamanta's across the track and gets T-boned by another car. So all action here now in the Consolation. We normally get to see this in the Consolation round because it is the last chance saloon for a lot of the guys. But with this being completely different than the previous 2 rounds, the top 14 are going to go into the feature race. You know, any ones that have crashes, and all these people have crashes, you know, puts the people up into the qualifying places that wouldn't normally be there. You know, at the moment we've got Ploskov, Fell, Lippi, Wimbo all in the pits at the moment. So there's 4 of the 7 places already probably taken from the drop. So really big opportunity for the amateur drivers to get into that feature race where they would not normally be able to get into there. So they just need to keep it nice and clean, but still seeing a lot of cars coming here off at the moment. But at the moment we've got Roger Christensen in 3rd, Yannick Kinnick in 2nd, Dennis Meisner in 3rd. So amateur drivers 2nd and 3rd. Mikey Pollock in 4th place, Herring Stuck in 5th, and Marcel Fritsch in 6th. So a couple of AMs in the top 6 places there, with the pros struggling a little bit on this track, it seems, Joshua.
And like you mentioned, 14 drivers going in, a good opportunity for a lot of drivers as Stullinger starts to fall down the order. Not sure what's going on with the 229. Fell all the way down to P12. Might have had a spin in that WS Racing Esports red outfit, as Craig Jones will work his way on by. And already starting to see Ross Dunstan, who has that transfer spot, and Christensen, oh, did he make the same mistake? I think he did, Andy. Another slowdown for Roger Christensen. Exactly the same thing we saw in the heat. Won't be as detrimental. Looks like he's going to hold on to P3 and a long ways away from that transfer spot. But another mistake there from Roger Christensen. He's got to clean it up with that slowdown coming out of turn 11. That could be detrimental to him in the feature race tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And what it is going to do is going to put him further down the field in the feature race. And obviously we saw in the last feature race in the Hungaroring, he had an absolute horrendous start. I think all the Fox Gaming team had a horrendous start off the start line and basically lost about 6, 7, 8 places. So he can ill afford to do that, and he can ill afford to get, like you say, a slowdown on that turn 11, you know, which seems to be his nemesis tonight. Obviously leading this race, taking that slowdown and still managing to keep him third, but you know, every position he loses in this race means he's going to be further down in that feature race.
Continuing to struggle and continuing to have a good day is Yannick Hynet, who currently has the lead. 2 AM drivers at the front of this field. Oh my, swapping back and forth as to the inside goes James Parker on Cesar Cabral. Can't do it as they go into the final chicane. Side by side once again, Christensen trying to get around Meisner, and exactly what Christensen is going to do. Meisner not going to give up, still side by side, albeit by inches. Can Meisner outbrake Christensen? Going down into the first corner, Meisner around the outside, not going to be enough. He'll stay P3. Mikey Pollard gonna try and fight from P4 now and move his way further up the positions here. And everybody inside this top 4, Andy, already moving on into the feature race. If you're inside that top 14, you don't need to worry about a transfer spot. You've already got one. But the further you get up into those transfer spots, the better your starting position is going to be when it comes to the feature race. So getting as many positions as possible, even inside that top 14, can be crucial for the amount of points they're going to get out of the final.
Yeah, definitely. So the first place car in this race will start in P8, and then it'll just go down from there in the feature race. So we can see at the moment Christian will start P9 in the feature race, which I don't think he's been that low down all season. So he just needs to fight him up. Currently got a little bit of a gap, about 3 seconds over Yannick kicking it in front of him. Yeah, he probably get it done, but he's got another six minutes left of this heat to try and claw back that 3 seconds. But like you were saying on the timing screen there, you look at the top 14, they're pretty much all on the same lap, and then you've got the 15, 16 all the way down to that have had incidents that are a bit of the way off it. So if the rear amateurs at the moment just look at the timing screen and see where they're at, they know they don't have to push it. They know they just have to keep the car on track. It doesn't matter if they get 130 laps, they're probably not going to be caught by the car in 15th. So therefore, you know, it's pretty much theirs to lose at the moment to get through to that feature race. And like I was saying, that's where all the points are. So you just need to have a level head on yourself and say, well, I'm just going to keep this place, make sure I keep it nice and clean, and therefore get through to the feature race. You don't want to have a stupid, silly mistake that'll put pay to your race and then put you back to the pits, and you lose that probably one-time opportunity to try and get into the feature race, depending on how many drivers we have for each round.
Side by side, outside of Kevin Stringer, inside Daniel Porter as they battle for P8. Stringer going to take that spot. Porter not done, goes for a switchback, but switch back to the outside, not going to work for Porter. He'll have to stay in P9 currently. Going back to the heats, this is going to get close down into the left-hander. To the inside goes the 248. Is he over on the side? Yes, he is. Early braking for Stringer into the chicane. Late braking for Daniel Porter puts him back up into 8th place. Going back to the heats, Bo Albert winning heat number 1 for the pro class, became the first duplicate heat winner when it comes to the pro class. He won back in Charlotte. Then from there, in terms of heat wins, it was Chris Shorter, Luke McCowan, and Jovagard Gotterstad for the pro class. So Bo Albert becoming the first duplicate driver to win a pro class heat race this season. Is getting close to contact is Austin Neal in that blue and white 214. Craig Salter in the red 289 following in pursuit, trying to get that 10th spot. Close to contact as they work their way through turn 4. Let's see what he can do in the hard braking zone of turn 5. Very slow right-hander. Not going to be close enough. He'll have to settle for P11, but a lockup from Austin Neal could open the door.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously came a little bit too close there and lost a little bit of ground to Austin Neal in front of him, which gave him a little bit of gap there coming down to turn number 5. But it certainly seems that Salters has got the pace over Neal at the moment, and it's where he can get past. Although it's quite a wide track, this track, it's quite difficult to overtake the drivers. The slipstream's not long enough to feel the full effect of it. And obviously you've got to try and get people offline into the corners. So, you know, the real big opportunity passes for this track are the corners, but they come with their own added risks of doing that. So you've really got to be confident when you're trying to pass somebody that you can get the move done. And often we've seen, certainly at the start of this race, around turns 2, 3, and 4, we see a lot of cars getting it wrong. And unfortunately, if you do have an incident with the tightly packed nature of this racing, you can get hit by other cars, and that could take you out of the race. So, you know, it's a high risk track, but with high gains if you can do it correct on this track.
Now inside of 2.5 minutes left here in the Consolation race. No battle for the transfer. This is a battle one spot up from the transfer. Dunstan versus Stullinger. Stullinger to the inside. This is Triple R Racing versus WS Racing Esports Red, and the WS Racing Esports Red outfit of Henning Stullinger around the outside in the 229. Gonna go a little bit too wide off the outside line and go over the rumble strip. Ross Dunstan is going to hold on to P13 for now. Let's see what happens as they go through turn 4. Yes, he is going to keep that spot, and Stullinger not done, starting to close. How much can he close is the big question. Does he go for that open door through the right-hander? No, he does not. Left-hander to right-hander coming up, turn 6 and 7. Nothing that Stullinger can do. Currently just following Dunstan. 1.5 minutes remaining here in the Consolation race. It'll be white flag this time by for Yannick Hynet, who currently holds the race lead.
Yeah, these two drivers just need to have a clear head, and they're currently sat in the bubble spot for the feature race at the moment in Stullinger. You know, he's 5 seconds at the moment, where he was 6 ahead of Polakov in 15th place, with Germantus not that far behind. So if these two keep on battling the way they are, this could put Germantus and Polonov into the frame, into this rear place. So they just need to be a bit more, as we say that, Polakov has probably missed his chance now with spinning it there at the chicane coming out of turn 11. Probably with Germantus, or is it a self-spin? It looks like it's a self-spin. Coming in quite hot, really taking that corner. You can see how much the car gets off the road. Both the inside wheels come off the road, and unfortunately overspins it around there. And Germantus gladly takes the P15 spot at the moment, but really wants that P14 spot. But I think the only way he's going to get it is if he does that.
And that suspension, that suspension definitely is not made for slamming down onto the racing surface like that. And across the line, Yannick Hynet, white flag is now in the air for the Consolation race. Roger Christensen in second, and a spin at the back of the field. Kevin Stringer makes contact with Daniel Porter. Is this going to put them out of the transfer spots? They're still in front of Dunstan and Stullinger by, I believe, about a lap. Daniel Porter is crawling right now in the 248 from P11. What on earth happened here? Porter into the braking zone. Where did this incident happen? There's Stringer going through. Oh, Porter spun, came back onto the racetrack, and hard contact with the 252.
Poor bit of skill there from Daniel Porter, obviously just trying the best to get his position back on track, and unfortunately not looking at his relative, seeing the car quite close and just driving into the the driver's line, and unfortunately making contact there. So at the moment he's probably in a good position at the moment, but he's got a heavily damaged car, as we can see his steering wheel there all over the place to try and do. So he's going to lose a whole load of positions here. It's whether he can keep that position over Polakov, who's in P15 at the moment, but we can sort of see there going straight on, and his wheels there enough 90 degrees. But out front, Yannick Kinnick profiting really from Roger Christiansen's mistake and his slowdown, but never looked back from there. Christiansen did make up the time on him. He had a 3-second deficit and ended up not that far behind him, but Hicknett wins the Consolation. Christiansen in second, Mikey Pollard in third, Dennis Meisner, the second of the AMs, in fourth, James Parker fifth, Marcel Fritsch in sixth. So yeah, a couple of the AMs, and a lot more of the AMs will be getting through to that feature race.
So Hinya moves on to the Consolation race, and here's the battle between Dunstan and Stollinger. How is this going to end? Lock up from both of them. Both of them going to take to the grass at the same time. Both of them locked up coming into the braking zone. Daniel Porter's going to hold on to P11, and it looks like Dunstan's going to hold on to P12. Stollinger holds on to P13. Erajus Jomontas is going to come across the line as well to take that final transfer spot. Nikolay Polyakov and his spin a couple of laps ago takes him out of running contention for the transfer. And we are now ready for the 22 drivers who will take the green flag in the feature race tonight. Andy, this is going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see there, because obviously we saw Ali and Christensen getting a slowdown for cutting that chicane. So whether them two drivers actually served the penalty before they went over the line, it'd be interesting to see in these results if they did. So Yannick Kinnick was in first place, Roger Christensen, Mikey Pollard, Dennis Meisner, James Parker, Marcel Fritsch, Cesar Sabau, Craig Salter, Austin Neal, Craig Jones, Daniel Porter, Ross Dunstan, Henning Studlinger and Arias Romantis in 14th. So they managed to serve their slowdown, so they didn't get a penalty as they thought they might do. So that'll be your feature race contenders going forward. Nikolai Podolkov in 15th, Oliver Hotpe in 16th, Thomas Wanger, Kevin Stringer, Nicola Forza-Lippi, Darren Fell and Emil Wimbo are all the ones that are cut from the Consolation round, and they will take no further action in tonight's proceedings. So I bet Emil Wimbo is not too happy being a very good driver, but unfortunately seems to this tracker seems to have got the better of him in the two races that he's had tonight.
Drivers take to the track for the warm-up. We'll take a short break here on Apex Racing TV. When we return, it is feature race time from the virtual Nurburgring in the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship. Don't go anywhere. The final is coming up next. Welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth alongside Andy Thompson with Samuli Kumo down in the virtual production trailer, making everything look good here tonight. 30 seconds now left in the warm-up, Andy, and this final is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. We have a streak of 2 races with a unique final winner for both the Pro and AM class. Can anybody go back to back? I think Bo Albert might have the best chance.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an interesting race. A lot more amateurs in this feature racing than we're normally used to seeing, but this is really good for them. You know, they get the opportunity to fight in the big finale race here. Obviously added 3 minutes on this, so a 15-minute round. So an extra couple of laps compared to what they're used to in the past in other rounds. But a lot of the amateurs now have got a really good opportunity to claw back the points within the championship.
Ready to go racing in the feature race tonight. 22 drivers are going to line up to take the green flag. Bo Albert, Luke McCowan on the front row. Scott Mokes, Jovigard Gotterstad with Lewis Ward rounding out your top 5. Damian Harris, Max Kessler, Keo Thiago Martel on P8 with Yannick Hynette and Roger Christensen rounding out your top 10. Mikey Pollard, Dennis Meisner rounding out the first half of the field, and back from there, James Parker, Marcel Fritsch, Cesar Cabral, your top 15. Craig Salzer, Austin Neal, Craig Jones, Daniel Porter, and Ross Dunstan, the top 20. Henning Stollinger and Ergis Jomontes round out the field. Everybody's on the grid. Time to go racing and let them loose from the Nurburgring. Green flag is up. We are underway. It's a great start for Logitech Geolis Esports as Bo Albert, Luke McCown, the two teammates, barrel down into turn number 1. 3 wide further back is to the inside. Goes Jovigard Gotterstad. Can he hold on? They're 3 wide. A little bit of shoving off the racetrack as Mokes tries to protect that spot away from Lewis Ward. He does so. Everybody is safe through turn number 1. A little bit of contact between Salter and one of the driver, but as they race into turn 3, it's Albert out in front. McCowan, Gotterstad, Mokes, Ward the top 5.
Yeah, definitely. So the Ultras G Esport guys 1 and 2 at the moment. Be interesting to see if we see a little bit of teamwork tactics going on, and that's whether Luke McCowan will let Bo Albert try to get a little bit of a lead to try and extend his championship at the top. But obviously Luke McCowan's in the fight, certainly after last round where he won the championship, run the round up in 5th place in the pro. So it'll be interesting to see what the two teammates do. But at the moment, not a lot of movement within the field, more towards the back end of the field as the movement off the line, with Daniel Porter making up 3 places and Rush Dunson making up 3 places. But certainly the top 10 at the moment, the only one that sort of made any moves is Mikey Pollard, up from 11th to currently 9th place at the moment as we make this first lap. As we see a big moment there from Damian Harris, unfortunately getting that awkward position of the chicane there and sort of almost beached on the inside, and he did exactly the right thing though, kept off the racing line, kept it slow, and no more incidents caused from that. But what that has done is pushed him right down to the back of the field, so as we see him there second to last. But certainly 2x2 car wide here, maybe even a 4 car wide into the turn number 1, which will not go, guys, so make sure you take it a little bit easy as we see Cesar's brow getting a little bit wide there coming out into turn 1, trying to get back onto track, but not losing any places, so it doesn't seem like a bad line, that one.
Around again, one driver, that is Ross Dunstan, that gets turned off of the first corner. Unfortunate for Dunstan, didn't make contact with anybody. When Damian Harris went around, one driver slammed into him. Not exactly sure who that was, but one driver ended up with damage out of that mix, or at least 2 of them, as they made contact, and more contact made as Kessler gets turned. That was contact with Lewis Ward in the 197 as they got into each other heading into turn number 6, I believe that is. And Kessler got the worst end of the stick there, gets turned around down into P19, having to hold off Austin Neal now in P20, racing back into the final chicane. Keo Thiago Martel gains a spot up in a P5. Christensen now fighting from P4. A great start for Fox Gaming's Roger Christensen, up 6 spots from where he started in P10 at the start of this feature.
Yeah, what we're not seeing in the pictures here is the front 2 runners, Bo Albert and Luke McCowan, so working well together as teammates, just trying to extend that lead over the rest of the field. So the rest of the positions just getting fight for second, third, and further down the field. But you know, even in these shots here, we can't see the 2 Altus G Esports guys team out in front. So those 2 have got their coattails on and sprinted away from these places in from 3rd backwards. So seems like this big gaggle of cars here from Gotterstad, Christian Martin, Pollard, Mokes, Meisner are all, as we see Lewis Ward again going off wide in turn number 3. and losing even more places. So himself, and I think it was, I forgot who it was at the moment, I had the incident earlier, Kessler, wasn't it, who's currently in the pits, having a terrible feature race at the moment. So not good outing from Lewis Ward or from Max Kessler on here. But what this does do is promotes a few more amateurs into the higher positions. So at the moment we've got Martinu in 5th, we've got Meisner in 8th and Porter in 9th. And what we're watching here is a battle between Mikey Pollard and who's that? Scott Moat in 6th place. So lots of little battles happening now. As a great pass there from Lewis Ward up onto the inside of Meisner, Porter, and managing to get that place done. So Lewis Ward trying to get back the positions he lost. So currently was where he was before. He had all the spins there, Joshua. So got a lot of making up to do to try and improve his place where he started.
Exactly what he is doing right now. We put 4 minutes 45 seconds behind us. We'll be reaching up on 5 minutes down, 10 minutes to go, and we'll be going from 12 minutes up to 15, adding about 2 laps as the 248 gets turned around, middle of the pack. Watch the rejoin, and he is good to go. Daniel Porter getting caught up in an incident there in that 248 off of turn number 2, 20th place now on the racetrack. And Andy, I don't think it's really a coincidence we're seeing the drivers that have made mistakes earlier on in the day continue to make the mistakes. We've talked about how tough this track can be, especially in those sort of medium speed corners. High speed corners, okay, you can get some grip there. Low speed, it's easy to make up that grip. But medium speed can turn out to be very difficult in these Porsches and catching a lot of drivers off guard as we see a battle for the lead between the two Altus boys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of them technical tracks you've really got to be on your wits all the time because it can catch you out. Certainly that, you know, the corners coming out of turn 2 and 3 are very deceiving on this track. I mean, if you've not got very much experience of it, it can catch you off. You put a little bit too much acceleration coming around that 3rd corner, it's absolutely will throw you off, as we saw there with Daniel Porter on the last couple of laps. But what we're doing now is we're watching the battle here with Harris, Hignett, Salter, Stuttlanger and Jones all for P13 at the moment. So a big long train of cars with the pro at the front of Harris at the moment, just trying to hold off the amateurs who are swarming all behind him at the moment to try and just get that place off him. So I think Harris is feeling a little bit of pressure from all the amateurs that are lining up behind him.
On board with Damian Harris, Hignett, Salter, Stollinger, Jones all in that line, trying to get by Harris in the 153 for P13. Seeing another pro class dominated race. There's a lockup for Hignett. It's going to put the entire line down. Salter looked like he wanted to make a move on by, but could not get to the inside or outside of Harris quick enough. That'll keep him in P14. Martel and Meisner are the only 2 AMs to break the pro bubble at the front of this field. So you see a side-by-side between Cabral and Parker. Parker outside, Cabral inside into the left-hander. Cabral able to keep that spot. The 120 of James Parker continuing to fight from P11. Can he go to the inside here in the final corner? No, he cannot. Back to the front straightaway he goes, as it is a line with Cabral, Parker, and Jomontis now joining this fight in that number 172. 10th, 11th, and 12th all battling on the racetrack. To the inside for P10 goes Parker on Cabral. Can he get there in time? Yes, he can. Can he complete the pass? He locks it up. Here's the crossover. Cabral is going to make contact with Jomontis as well. Jomontis looking for a place to go. Reaches a wall. Way to the outside goes Cabral. He's going to lose more spots as Harris and Hignett go on by.
Yeah, unfortunately, he took the extremely wide line coming through that turn, which pushed him out wide after the slight hit there with Jomontis, and unfortunately pushed him off the track with the speed that you go around that corner. It does tend to push the car out wide, and unfortunately went off the track. Lost one more place, but still not all ends to pay for, but does put him back with the battle with Salter and Stuttlinger and Jones and Porter. So push back a couple of positions. What is very noticeable about this round, Joshua, is the fact that the Pro and Am status has been completely thrown out the window for this race. You know, we've got a big mix-up between Pros and Ams, and it's almost like neutralized the status, the iRacing status of these guys on this track. So it's a really interesting round for the drivers to try and contend with. You know, certainly the Pro status drivers, where they would expect to be in front of the Ams, and all of a sudden seeing a wall of Ams in front of them and right behind them trying to fight them for position. So extremely interesting race, this feature one.
Pit stop for James Parker. Looks like damage of some sort to that car. We know these drivers don't need to pit during this race, so that is unscheduled. We'll see what happens with Parker in the pit lane, but Jamontis now trying to hold off Damian Harris. You saw the mistake as he went through turn 1, the 172 silver RSR, silver and blue I should say RSR, getting caught up with the lockup in the first corner. Take a look at the 153 pink colored Porsche of the Damian Harris, who's currently trying to fight Jamontis from P11, looking for that 10th spot. Blocking that inside line is Jamontis as Highnet watches from that 3rd spot in this line. Passing becomes difficult if you're not willing to be super aggressive, Andy, especially in these tight portions of this racetrack. Pretty easy to make a crossover, especially through 6 and 7, and have a bit of a safe pass, but anywhere else, you got to be brave about it and try not to make contact, because it is so easy to just get a little bit of door banging when it comes to these Porsches. As here's Jamontis defending that inside line. Harris can't get there, gets forced off the racing line, and here comes the 237 of Highnet now to go by for P11.
Yeah, that's definitely what we see in this race. You know, you see the two battles in front, and because it's quite close, and there's only one real fast racing line around this track. So if you get off that line, as we see Damien and Hignett coming contact down to start finish straight, and unfortunately Hignett coming across the track. Hopefully, he's going to pick up Damien again. So absolutely outrageous. Stuttlinger looks like he got caught up in that incident as well, which is really a strange one coming down the start-finish straight. So there must have been a massive overspeed there coming into the corner. Be interesting to see a replay if we get on board with, I think it was Hignett behind, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. Literally just, I'm not sure what happened there, but obviously it looked like the car 237 had a massive overspeed on Damien and basically hit into the back of him. So
Craig Jones involved too, up on his side there. What an incident. We'll grab another look, and it happened in front of Jones. Jones was kind of caught off guard here. There's Harris going around. Sends, I believe that is Stollinger around. There's the contact with Stollinger. There's the contact with Jones. And getting caught up in the guardrail as well. Ends up on his side. Nothing that he could do. Highnet and Harris come together. Jones and Stollinger nowhere to go. They get caught up in the crossfire of that incident. 3 minutes left, and it's still Logitech G-Altus Esports at the front of this field. Bo Albert, Luke McCowan. Remember, the last 2 finals have been won by Logitech G-Altus Esports drivers, Bo Albert and Luke McCowan. Can Logitech G-Altus Esports keep up this momentum? As we see a battle between Roger Christensen and Keo Thiago Marcel battling for P4. Fox Gaming versus Team Shazoo. It's a Fox Gaming 3 and 4 as well. G-Altus Esports 1-2. Fox Gaming 3-4 on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, definitely. The Logitech G-Altus Esports guys obviously working really well together at the front of the field and almost dominating these rounds so far in the early rounds of this Porsche Cup. You know, like you said, Bo Albert winning the first one, Luke McCowan winning the second. And it's looking at the moment very strongly that Bo Albert will win this 3rd round here at the Nurburgring, but certainly all to play for the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th positions with Goddestad, Christensen, Martinu and Mokes all trying to battle it out on track, as we're currently watching Martinu battling it with Christensen for that 4th place spot at the moment. And Martinu's doing an exceptional job considering he's in the amateur category, and we can see just there in the background Scott Mokes and Mikey Pollard battling it out there for 6th and 7th. So 2 little pods and 2 little battles here for the top positions in this feature race.
closing in on the checkered flag of this race, and we would be talking about it a different story if Hungary would have gone different. Bo Albert, third place there. So we are not looking at a third consecutive Logitech G Altus Esports 1-2, but they are continuing to battle. McCowan is racing for a back-to-back feature race win overall and in the pro category. Albert's trying to get back into victory lane after winning the feature race overall and pro at Charlotte 2 weeks ago. On board with McCowan now. Remember, these drivers are teammates at Logitech G Altus Esports. Can Albert hold off McCowan here? They're going to go up the hill through turn 8 into the chicane of 9 and 10. White flag will be out this time by, as you're on board with McCowan, not close enough to make a move. He holds 5th gear into the left and right-hander. Back to the front straightaway. McCowan's gonna have 1 lap to try and do it. It looks like McCowan might be slightly better through the first sector, Andy, than Bo Albert. It's gonna be interesting to see what McCowan can do here.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see these two the teammates actually trying to fight out the race and not give the positions up. You know, Luke McCowan wants that victory again. Obviously had a terrible Charlotte, really good Hungary, and really wants to riding high on that wave at the moment. And I think you're right, Luke McCowan does have the beating of Bo Albert in this first sector, closes right up onto the rear of Bo Albert. It'd be interesting to see what they do. But there we see a change of position for 4th place at the moment. But I think Christensen's going to get him back round turn number 2. So side by side round turn number 3, coming down into turn 3. So at the moment, Martin, who was in the wrong line on the outside, so it's going to cut really tight into there, get really slow exit of 4, which will give Christensen the overspeed on the outside. But he does go a little bit wide there, so side by side again down into turn number 5, where this time we've got Martu on the inside that has the advantage of a Christensen, but a little bit of contact there in turn 5, and unfortunately Martu comes off worth. Roger Christensen manages to take him around the outside, but a little bit of door banging there around turn 5, a little bit of controversy on this last lap. But back to this front running race at the moment. Bo Albert and Luke McCowan all over the back of him at the moment, but I think Bo Albert just has got enough as we come through the last chicane, so only 3 more corners to turn around, and they'll have this feature race in the bag again. But great outing for the Logitech G Altus Esports guys, getting a 1-2 here at what has been a war of attrition on this track, and not by cars hitting into other cars, but obviously people having their own self spins a lot on this track.
What a run for G Altus Esports. Another 1-2 finish for Albert and McCowan. A great run here in virtual Nurburgring, and what a race it was for both of these drivers at the front of this field. And G Altus Esports will continue to show themselves at the top of the team points standings. Top 5, I believe the first top 5 for an AM driver in a final this season, with Keo Thiago Martão for Team Shazoo. A great run for them. And across the line, Austin Neal will come home P14. Not the day he was looking for, but still a good finish. Meisner also with the top 10. Dennis Meisner, 2 AM drivers in the top 10 at the end of the day. Of an exciting day here from the Nurburgring. And there's Bo Albert burning it down in that Logitech G Altus Esports number 143. A great run tonight for him as we get a look at your full results. Albert walks away with the win. Luke McCowan in P2. The first 1-2 of the season for Logitech G Altus Esports. We should correct. Joe Vigard Gotterstad, Roger Christensen, Keo Thiago Martão rounds out your top 5. Scott Mokes, Mikey Pollard, Lewis Ward, Dennis Meisner, ARA Just Joe Montes rounds out your top 10, with Daniel Porter, Craig Salter, Marcel Fritsch, Austin Neal, and Ross Dunstan rounding out your top 15. James Parker, Cesar Cabral, Damian Harris, the top 18, with Yannick Hynet, Craig Jones, Henning Stollinger, and Max Kessler, your 22 drivers who took the green flag tonight. And Andy, the points are definitely going to heat up as Bo Albert's going to continue to pull away at the top of the field. He already had a pretty substantial gap, only going to grow after tonight's race.
Yeah, definitely. One of the people that are on the charge is Luke McCowan. So obviously, I think at the end of Charlotte, he was down in like 13th place, moved up to 5th place after the result for last week, and will be, I'm sure, moving up again after the result tonight. So obviously just a blip in his mouse, but like we said, you know, they do get that drop round. So when that drop round comes into effect, he will lose the Charlotte round, and as long as he keeps where he's going at the moment, it certainly looks like at the moment it's going to be a Lotus G Esports Altus race at the top there for positions 1 and 2 in the championship, with them two fighting it out. So it's going to be interesting to see on there. But certainly from the amateur point of view, you know, a lot of drivers there picking up extra points due to people not obviously being able to attend this race, you know, that don't normally feature into the feature race, such as Craig Salter, Austin Neal, Ross Dunstan, and Craig Jones and Henrik Stuttlinger. They're all first timers into the feature race, so they'll be picking up some very valuable points to hopefully move them up the AM Championship standings. So a really interesting round for the drivers, both the pros and the AMs, and it certainly mixes up that championship and makes it a lot more interesting.
And speaking of that championship, of course, the AM Championship we're also watching, and the Team Championship as well. Altus Esports is going to continue to try and pull away in that Team Championship as well, but we still have a good amount of races left on the calendar, Andy. Definitely nowhere even close to rounding out this season. 8 rounds. We're in round 3 here at the Nurburgring. We'll be at the halfway point of the season in round 4 next week. Road Atlanta. We'll get to previewing Road Atlanta in a bit, but still a lot of time left in this season. Road America, Motegi, Bathurst, and the Red Bull Ring coming up after Road Atlanta. So still a lot of time for these drivers to make up points, but as long as Bo Albert keeps up his winning ways, going to be difficult for anybody other than Bo Albert to get those points up on the board. They got to find a way to get that speed up and start beating him. I'm specifically thinking about Joe Vigard Gotterstad and Roger Christensen. The two Fox Gaming drivers have really been second fiddle to Logitech Altus Esports so far this entire season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what we got to take in perspective as well, this is a brand new car, the Porsche 922. So the driver's still getting used to the nuances of this car over the old Porsche Cup that we had. So still a lot to play for there. And obviously, like you said, we're only 3 rounds into an eight round championship, not even halfway at the moment. So still a hell of a lot to play for. But at the moment, the Logitech Altus Esports guys seem to be getting to grips with the car a lot better than the other top drivers. But I wouldn't rule out Joe Gotterstad and Roger Christensen from Fox Gaming. Very quick drivers and always there or thereabouts. So we'll be on the coattails of these guys, pushing them all the way to the line. And like you said, we've got some absolute great tracks that are probably made for this car coming up that will make it very interesting coming into the latter half of the championship.
And moving forward, of course, a bit of format changes that are coming up as well. This was the last round of the heats, Consolation, and the final. Next week, it'll go to 25-minute heats and then a 125-minute final as well. Much more like what we can see in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup and the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series that you can watch currently going on right now on Saturdays. Yours truly is also in the booth for that one as well. But moving forward with the format changes, going to be a much different game, Andy, when it comes to earning those points, because Consolation's out the window. It's just heat and final that you're going to have to try and make up those points. Everybody makes it through to every single race. 2 races, everybody is in both of them. So it's going to change just how these drivers race. We're not going to be talking about transfer spots anymore. We're going to be talking about starting positions for the final coming out of the heat.
Yeah, definitely. It's a different mindset because these shorter races, it almost gets the red mist from the off with the drivers, just because they know that they've got to be within a certain position. But exactly like you said there, with almost doubling up the race time from the 12-minute races to 25 minutes. And basically it's more of a longer game that the guys are going to have to play. They don't have to make them lunges into corners. They don't have to make them moves that could possibly cost them the round. They can be more more tactical and more careful about where they take the positions because they've got longer to do it in. These sort of races are going to be short, fast, heated with lots of incidences. You know, I think that's a given with the format that it is. But certainly the 25 minutes is more of a strategic game and a long-term game to try and get yourself up, like you said, into them positions to get a really good starting position for that end feature race, which is where all the points are. So interesting format, and the guys are going to have to switch their mindset now to that format and get a different gameplay between them. But it'd be interesting to see how these two guys at the front, Bo Albert and Luke McCowan, play with the Fox Gaming guys on the tail with a different format.
And that format change is going to come with a bit of track changes as well. We talked about the challenges of the Nurburgring. How about the challenges of Road Atlanta? Of course, we're going to see it this weekend in the Petit Le Mans powered by VCO that you can see on iRacing this weekend. And then Road America, Motegi, Bathurst, and the Red Bull Ring. There's not a lot of similarities that you can take with those 5 circuits that remain on the calendar. So, Andy, these drivers are going to be, challenges back and forth and back and forth. It's going to be just so many unique circuits, not a lot that you can take from one circuit to another. Add in the new car, add in a new format. Road Atlanta is going to be an entirely sort of a new day for this series, and excited to see what's going to happen with the points as well, because we've been mentioning, Altus being powerful when going into the latter half of the season, not doubting in my mind that Fox Gaming is going to start to turn up a bit of the wick and maybe start to get their first wins on the board of the season. I don't think Logitech GLS Esports is purely unbeatable at the front of the field. I think somebody will have their number, just going to take a good bit of work.
Yeah, it's like we see in a lot of these championships. There's certain tracks that people are good at, and there's certain tracks that people are, like I call them, they're Marmite tracks, that they just hate it. You either love or hate them. And I'm pretty sure that throughout this championship we will see that. So we'll also be seeing the effect of that drop round coming into effect. If you've already taken it for a poor round already, and you've got somebody else who's just behind you in that championship who hasn't got a poor drop round yet, they're the ones that can take more of a risk. You can't take the risks anymore. You've got to finish in a steady, strong position. So you're always going to be on the back foot to somebody that's got that in the back pocket over you in the championship. The other thing, obviously, Road Atlanta with the next race is going to be extremely interesting. We know that turn number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 in Road Atlanta is always a hot spot of action on the track. The blind corner going into turn 2 and 3 going down the hill. That's going to be extremely interesting to watch. Certainly in these cars, you can sort of see how much they slide across the track when they're going at full tilt, and going around that part of the section is certainly going to be interesting. But then we'll sort of see the slipstreaming effect that we saw in Charlotte coming down that extremely long stretch, coming off turn 7. Off 6 and 7, going down the long straights, coming down the hill, going into the chicane in turns, I think it's 8 and 9 or 9 and 10. So that's certainly going to be an interesting track. And having 25 minutes around there, it's certainly a war of attrition that's going to go on there, and more of a long game, like I said, with the drivers, so that they can take their time and pick their passing opportunities. So all to play for. And some of the other tracks you mentioned there, really fast, really long. So like Spa, that's really wide on that front section. I'd expect to see 3 or 4 cars wide coming down into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill after the long straight, because it's that wide of a corner. So so many different layouts of tracks that we got in this championship that will probably cater for every single driver that we have in this championship, whether they like them or not. They're all there. All there to come in the rounds to come in this championship. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
And we hope you'll join us for the remainder of the calendar. 1 week's time, October 8th. Same time we go live. Catch us for round number 4 from Road Atlanta. October 15th, week after that, Road America for round 5. 1 week after that, Motegi for round 6. 1 week after that, Bathurst for round number 7. And then 1 week after that, the finale, Friday, November 5th at the Red Bull Ring for round 8. So every single week, you can catch us here on Apex Racing TV for the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship. That'll do it for our coverage here from virtual Nurburgring. Remember, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Click that notification bell as well. Get notified every time that we go live for another broadcast here on Apex Racing TV. For Samuli Kumo, Andy Thompson, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you for tuning in to live coverage of round number 3 of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship, and we will see you in 1 week's time from virtual Road Atlanta as the campaign continues.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.